The void between stars shimmered as the UES Curiosity dropped out of fold space, its sensors immediately sweeping the surrounding area. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge, her dark eyes fixed on the main display as data streamed in from their latest jump. The exploration vessel had been mapping this sector for 3 months, pushing the boundaries of known space. Multiple electromagnetic signatures detected, Captain. Lieutenant Park announced from his station, fingers dancing over the holographic controls. Complex patterns consistent with civilized species. But he paused, frowning at his readings. There's something wrong with the distribution. Sarah moved to his station, studying the unusual energy patterns. After 15 years in the exploration corps, she'd seen the signatures of dozens of alien civilizations. This one looked like a society in chaos. The ship's AI, HFY, spoke up. Captain, I'm detecting widespread disruptions in what appears to be a planetary defense network. Analysis suggests ongoing military activity. Before Sarah could respond, a new signal cut through their comm systems. The message was a cacophony of sounds and symbols, but its meaning was clear enough. A distress call. HFY worked quickly, processing the alien languages through its translation matrices. Please, help us. The swarm. They came without warning. Our outer colonies are gone. Billions dead. Anyone who receives this. We are the Lissari. We only wanted to explore the stars. The bridge fell silent. First contact scenarios were extensively covered in training, but nothing had prepared them for this. Through the main viewport, they could see the distant flashes of weapons fire, illuminating the darkness of space. Multiple contacts approaching from the direction of the conflict zone. Park reported tensely. Configuration unknown, but their energy signatures are massive. Sarah's mind raced. The Curiosity was an exploration vessel, not a warship. They carried only basic defensive systems. Protocol dictated they should retreat and report their findings to Earth Command. But the desperation in that alien voice. HFY. Full analysis of the approaching vessels, she ordered. I want to know what we're dealing with. The AI processed sensor data at quantum speeds. Unknown design architecture. Biological components detected. Energy readings suggest significantly advanced weapons technology. They appear to be pursuing a group of smaller vessels, likely refugees. Sarah watched as the refugee ships came into visual range. They were elegant vessels with crystalline structures that caught and reflected starlight. Behind them, the pursuing ships looked like organic nightmares, writhing masses of dark matter with weapon ports that glowed with sickly green energy. Captain, her first officer, Commander David Rivera, spoke quietly. We should withdraw. We're not equipped for this. Sarah touched the worn silver pendant at her neck, a family heirloom containing a fragment of humanity's first Mars colony ship. Her ancestors had reached for the stars knowing the risks, believing that exploration came with responsibility. We're not running, she declared. HFY, prepare a complete data package for Earth Command. Include everything we've seen and recorded. Commander Rivera, bring us between those refugee ships and their pursuers. Lieutenant Park, power to shields. Captain, Rivera protested. This isn't our fight. Sarah turned to face her crew, seeing the mixture of fear and determination in their eyes. The day humanity reached the stars, we promised ourselves we'd be better than our past. We wouldn't stand by while others suffered. If we run now, what was the point of coming out here at all? She opened a channel to the refugee vessels. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth ship Curiosity. We stand ready to assist. Please coordinate with our AI for protective formation. The response came quickly, thick with relief and confusion. Earth ship. We don't know of your species, but thank you. The swarm. They consume everything they touch. Our weapons barely slow them. Then it's time they learned about humanity, Sarah replied, settling into her command chair. All hands, battle stations. HFY, begin emergency broadcast to Earth Command. Today we make history, not just by meeting new species, but by showing them who we really are. The Curiosity's engines flared to life as it moved to protect the vulnerable refugee ships. Behind them, the massive swarm vessels approached like gathering storm clouds. Humanity's first major contact with alien life wouldn't be a peaceful exchange of knowledge. It would be a fight for survival. But as Sarah watched her crew prepare for battle, she knew they wouldn't have it any other way. The age of humanity hiding in its corner of the galaxy was over. It was time to show the stars what Earth's children were made of. The emergency council chamber in Geneva erupted into chaos as the Curiosity's transmission played on the massive holographic display. Admiral Elena Rossi stood at the center of the storm, her weathered face illuminated by the images of the unknown alien vessels, both the crystalline refugee ships and the horrifying swarm pursuers. An exploration vessel cannot engage in military action. Secretary General Wang thundered from his position at the head of the council table. Captain Chen has exceeded her authority. With all due respect, Elena countered, her Italian accent thickening with emotion. She's upheld our highest principles. The Curiosity may have been first to encounter this situation, but now we all bear responsibility for what happens next. The chamber's eye assistant projected new data across the walls. Analysis of the swarm vessel's capabilities, the desperate messages from the Lissari refugees, and the tactical position of every human ship within range of the conflict zone. The Third Fleet was closest, but even at maximum speed, they were hours away. The Lissari are an unknown species, argued the Chinese representative. The swarm as well. This could be a local conflict we don't understand, perhaps even a trap. Elena pulled up the sensor data from the Curiosity scans. Look at the energy signatures from those refugee ships. They're running on emergency power. Their weapons are defensive only. The swarm vessels, on the other hand. She highlighted the biological components of the attacking ships. They're designed for consumption. Not conquest, consumption. The Indian representative leaned forward, her eyes narrowing at the data. You're suggesting they're not just attacking the Lissari, but they're eating them. Elena finished grimly. Their ships, their technology, their very molecules. The Curiosity's eye analysis suggests the swarm breaks down everything it encounters into base components for its own growth. This isn't a war, it's an extinction event. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had spent centuries wondering if they were alone in the universe, hoping to find friendly species among the stars. Instead, they'd found both the best and worst possibilities at once, a peaceful civilization facing annihilation by an incomprehensible horror. The Curiosity can't hold them off forever, Elena continued. Captain Chen knows this. She's buying time, not just for the refugees, but for us, for humanity to decide who we really are out there. Secretary General Wang studied the tactical displays, his expression troubled. The Third Fleet is our primary defense force in that sector. If we commit them to this fight, and the swarm proves too powerful, then we'll die knowing we tried. Elena interrupted. But if we let this happen, if we watch a peaceful species die when we could have helped, then we don't deserve to be out among the stars at all. The Russian representative stood slowly. Perhaps there is middle ground. We send the Third Fleet, yes, but only to extract the Curiosity and any refugees they've protected. No extended engagement. Elena shook her head. The Lissari said their outer colonies are already gone. Billions dead. This swarm won't stop. If we don't help stop them now, we're just putting off the inevitable. Today it's the Lissari. Tomorrow. New alerts flashed across the displays. The Curiosity was engaging the swarm vessels, using innovative tactics to protect the refugee ships. The exploration vessels' shields were holding. Barely, but they wouldn't last long against the full force of the attack. We need to vote, Wang declared. The motion before us is to deploy the Third Fleet in full military intervention against the swarm forces, in defense of both the Curiosity and the Lissari refugees. He looked around the chamber. The consequences of this vote will echo through human history. We are about to decide humanity's first major action on the galactic stage. Choose wisely. Elena watched the representatives input their votes, her hand unconsciously touching the Admiral's stars on her collar. Whatever they decided here would indeed shape humanity's future among the stars. She only hoped they'd choose to be the people they'd always dreamed of becoming. Captain Marcus Santos stood on the bridge of the EDF Dauntless, flagship of the Third Fleet, as 30 human warships dropped out of fold space in perfect formation. The scene before them was chaos. The Curiosity, somehow still intact, was performing evasive maneuvers that exploration vessels were never designed to handle, protecting a cluster of damaged Lissari ships from the writhing tendrils of 3 massive swarm vessels. All ships, battle formation Delta, Marcus commanded, his voice steady despite the horrific sight of the biological nightmare ships. Remember your training. The swarm may be unlike anything we've seen, but we've prepared for this moment. The human fleet moved with practiced precision. Years of drills, simulations, and theoretical alien combat scenarios were about to be put to the test. The Dauntless's AI, Titan, processed sensor data from the ongoing battle. Swarm vessels show no reaction to our arrival, Titan reported. Their focus remains on the Lissari ships. Analysis suggests they operate on pure consumption protocols. They may not recognize us as a threat until we engage. Then let's make one hell of a first impression, Marcus replied. All ships, power up the Galileo arrays. Target the nearest swarm vessel's biological components. Fire on my mark. The Galileo arrays were humanity's newest weapons technology, a system that could generate focused gravitational distortions. They'd never been used in actual combat, but simulations suggested they would be devastating against organic matter. Captain Chen, Marcus opened a channel to the Curiosity. You and your crew have done the impossible. Fall back behind our lines. We'll take it from here. Negative, Captain Santos, Sarah's tired but determined voice replied. My crew knows those refugee ships' shield frequencies. We're staying to coordinate defense. Just don't hit us with those fancy gravity weapons of yours. Marcus smiled despite the situation. Titan, designate the Curiosity as a friendly combatant. All ships, adjust fire coordinates accordingly. He watched as the fleet's targeting systems adapted to protect both human and Lissari vessels. Fire. 30 Galileo arrays activated simultaneously. Space itself seemed to ripple as concentrated gravitational forces struck the nearest swarm vessel. The effect was immediate and horrifying. The organic components of the massive ship began to tear apart, its biological matter unable to maintain cohesion under the gravitational assault. But the swarm adapted quickly. The 2 remaining vessels turned their full attention to the human fleet, their weapon ports glowing with that sickly green energy. Whatever they'd been using against the Lissari ships had been holding back. Now they unleashed their full power. Multiple energy signatures. Titan warned. Detecting attempts to breach our hull at the molecular level. They're trying to begin consumption. Rotate shield frequencies, Marcus ordered. Don't let them get a lock on any one pattern. Launch our drones. Let's see how they handle smaller targets. Hundreds of combat drones deployed from the human ships, their AI systems coordinating in a complex dance of distraction and harassment. The swarm vessels seemed confused by the tactic, their consumption beams splitting focus between the larger ships and the swarm of smaller threats. Sir, his tactical officer reported, the Lissari ships are launching something. Some kind of crystalline probes. They're interfacing with our drones. On the tactical display, Marcus watched in amazement as the Lissari technology merged with human drone systems, creating hybrid units that moved with impossible grace. The refugee ships might be damaged, but they weren't helpless. The Lissari are channeling their defensive shield energy through our drone network, Titan explained. It's creating a resonance pattern that's disrupting the swarm's molecular breakdown beams. Humanity, meet first contact, Marcus muttered. Then louder. All ships, coordinate with the Lissari probes. Concentrate Galileo array fire on any weak points they identify. Today we learn to fight together. The battle transformed into something unprecedented. Human technological innovation combining with Lissari crystalline science to combat a threat neither species could handle alone. The swarm vessels found themselves caught between gravitational weapons that tore at their biological components and hybrid drone swarms that prevented them from properly targeting anything. They're attempting to retreat, Titan announced, detecting fold space energy buildup in their remaining structures. Not happening, Marcus declared. All ships, full power to arrays. The only way this ends is with these things completely destroyed. We can't risk them coming back stronger. The combined human Lissari force pressed their advantage. The swarm vessels, for perhaps the first time in their existence, found themselves being systematically torn apart instead of doing the consuming. Their retreat was cut off by precisely coordinated gravity fields, while the hybrid drones prevented them from focusing their weapons effectively. In the Geneva Council chamber, Elena Rossi watched the battle telemetry with fierce pride. Humanity's first major engagement among the stars wasn't just a victory. It was proof that they belonged out there, not just as another species capable of violence, but as protectors who would stand and fight alongside those in need. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity had arrived, and they had chosen their role. The observation deck of the Dauntless offered a breathtaking view of the aftermath. Captain Marcus Santos stood beside Guardian Speaker Lyra, the highest-ranking survivor among the Lissari refugees. Her crystalline form caught the light of nearby stars, refracting it in patterns that seemed to match her emotional state, currently a mix of grief and hope. Your intervention saved more than just those ships, Lyra's translator conveyed, her natural language a complex harmony of tonal resonances. You've preserved the last repository of our civilization's knowledge. The swarm, they've consumed 15 of our worlds. Marcus watched as human and Lissari repair crews worked together in space, their EVA suits creating a strange ballet against the backdrop of stars. The Curiosity floated nearby, its hull bearing scars from its brave stand, while engineers from both species examined the hybrid drone technology their desperate cooperation had created. We had no idea there were threats like the swarm out here, Marcus admitted. Humanity is still new to interstellar travel. We thought we had time to explore, to prepare. Perhaps that was your advantage. Lyra's crystals shifted to a deeper blue. The older species, they'd grown cautious, set in their ways. When the swarm appeared, the Galactic Council debated while our worlds died. But humanity, her form brightened slightly. You acted on principle alone. Before Marcus could respond, Titan announced an incoming transmission from Earth. The holoprojector activated, showing Admiral Rossi and several members of the Emergency Council. Captain Santos, Elena began, the Council has reviewed the battle data. The threat assessment of these swarm entities has been classified as Omega level. We're mobilizing the entire Earth Defense Force. Secretary General Wang's image stepped forward. Guardian Speaker Lyra, on behalf of humanity, we extend an immediate offer of sanctuary for your refugees. Earth and all our colonies are open to your people. Lyra's crystalline form pulsed with surprise. You would share your worlds with strangers. We've studied your transmission logs, Elena explained. Your people are scientists, explorers, artists. You sought to understand the universe, not conquer it. Humanity. She paused, choosing her words carefully. We've learned that strength isn't just about weapons or territory. It's about what you're willing to protect. The holoprojection expanded, showing feeds from Earth and its colonies. Massive construction projects were already underway. Refugee centers, adaptation habitats designed to accommodate the Lissari's unique crystalline biology. But more striking were the crowds gathering in cities across human space, holding signs welcoming their new alien neighbors. There's more, Wang continued. The Emergency Council has approved the formation of a new military and scientific cooperative, the Star Guard. a joint human-Lysari force dedicated to protecting civilization from threats like the swarm. Marcus watched Lyra's reaction carefully. The Lysari were a peaceful species, but they'd just lost billions to an implacable enemy. Would they retreat into isolation? Or our knowledge of space-fold technology, crystalline engineering, and xenobiology. Lyra's translator conveyed her determined tone. We offer it freely to this star guard. The Lysari were explorers, yes, but perhaps it's time we learn to be guardians as well. Emergency alarms suddenly blared throughout the ship. Titan's voice was urgent. Multiple fold space ruptures detected. Large vessels emerging. Signatures match known Galactic Council configurations. The observation deck's view filled with the arrival of sleek, advanced ships. Their design spoke of centuries of development, making human vessels look primitive in comparison. A transmission cut through all channels. This is High Commander Vex of the Galactic Council Fleet. We received distress calls from this sector regarding swarm activity. However, there was clear surprise in the alien voice. Our scans indicate the swarm vessels have been destroyed. Impossible. Who are you? Marcus glanced at Lyra, then at the still active holoprojection of Earth's leaders. In this moment, humanity's relationship with the wider galactic community would be defined. They could be humble, apologetic for acting without approval. This is Captain Marcus Santos of the Earth Defense Force, he replied firmly. Humanity stands with the Lysari people, and we're just getting started. The galaxy's older civilizations were about to learn that humanity didn't need centuries of development to know right from wrong. They'd chosen their path among the stars, not as conquerors or passive observers, but as guardians of those who needed protection. The age of isolation was over. The age of cooperation had begun. 1 year later, the Star Guard Academy's main auditorium buzzed with activity as the first joint graduating class prepared for their ceremony. Through the vast, transparent dome, Earth hummed like a blue jewel against the black of space, while crystalline Lysari architecture merged seamlessly with human construction throughout the orbital facility. Sarah Chen, now Admiral Chen, stood at the podium, looking out over the assembled cadets. Human and Lysari sat together, their different biologies creating a striking visual, but their shared purpose evident in their matching uniforms, silver and blue, with a spiral galaxy insignia that represented their combined mission. 1 year ago, she began, humanity faced a choice. We could have hidden in our corner of space, building walls, and hoping the darkness would pass us by. Instead, we chose to light a flame. The holographic displays activated, showing footage from that first battle, the Curiosity defending refugee ships, the Third Fleet arriving, and the unprecedented cooperation that had led to victory. But more importantly, they showed what came after. Lysari crystal tech had revolutionized human engineering, while Earth's innovative thinking had helped their new allies develop defensive capabilities they'd never considered. The hybrid drone technology, born from desperate collaboration in battle, had evolved into an entirely new field of study. Together, they'd created defenses that even the Galactic Council had to acknowledge as revolutionary. The swarm's attack on the Lysari wasn't the last. Sarah continued. 3 more incursions have been detected in the past year. Each time, the Star Guard responded. Each time, we proved that the strength of civilization isn't in isolation, but in cooperation. She gestured to the back of the auditorium, where representatives from the Galactic Council sat. Their initial skepticism of this young species and their ambitious plans had turned to reluctant respect, then active interest. 5 more species had already applied to join the Star Guard initiative. Today, you become the first official graduates of this academy. Human tactical innovation combined with Lysari technical brilliance. But more importantly, you represent a new philosophy in galactic civilization. The belief that strength means nothing without the will to protect others. The ceremony continued with the presentation of commissions. Each graduate received their orders, assignment to the growing fleet of hybrid vessels that combined the best of both species' technology. The Galactic Council members whispered among themselves as they watched these young officers, some Bipedal, some crystalline, take their oaths together. Later, in the Academy's observation lounge, Sarah stood with Guardian Speaker Lyra, watching Earth's sunset paint the sky in brilliant colors that the Lissari's crystalline form reflected in mesmerizing patterns. "The Council has finally approved our proposal," Lyra's translator conveyed her satisfaction. "The Star Guard will be granted autonomous authority to respond to threats throughout governed space. No more debates while worlds burn." Sarah nodded, remembering the desperate first contact. "And the swarm? Our joint research teams think they've found their origin point." Lyra's form shifted to analytical patterns. "A dead galaxy, consumed entirely. They're not evil. They're an evolutionary dead end, a species that learned to consume but never learned to create. Unlike us," Sarah smiled, watching a training flight of hybrid fighters perform maneuvers that would have been impossible for either species alone. "Unlike us," Lyra agreed. "You know, some on the Council still question whether humanity was ready for the stars. They say you advanced too quickly, that you should have spent centuries developing like other species." "And what do you tell them?" Lyra's crystalline form brightened. "I tell them that readiness isn't measured in years or technology. It's measured in the choices you make when the moment comes. Humanity chose to stand and fight for strangers. Everything else is just details." Beyond the window, a new class of cadets was running drills in zero gravity, humans and Lissari working in perfect coordination. They were preparing for a galaxy that was still full of dangers, but no longer faced them alone. The flame that humanity had lit was spreading, inspiring other species to step forward, to choose protection over isolation. The swarm had meant to consume civilization. Instead, they had sparked something new. A brotherhood of species united not by fear or ambition, but by the simple choice to stand together against the dark. In the end, humanity's greatest contribution to the galaxy hadn't been their technology or their tactics. It had been their unwavering belief that doing the right thing wasn't just an option. It was the only option worth choosing.